Perseverance is the bridge between failure and success in the stock market, and it's the one thing that separates the winners from the losers. Napoleon Hill. My friend, my friends, 10 to 15 minutes each and every day, that is all we ask to master these markets. If you did not do it last year, then commit yourself in the new year to doing it. I'm on the road today, driving many, many miles through the countryside. I've finally gotten into a bigger town where I can get a signal. I can stop, and before dinner, I'm recording this show. I'm going into dinner, and I will, of course, be uploading it thanks to the restaurant's Wi-Fi. That is my dedication to you, to the market, to being a successful trader. How are you a successful trader? Perseverance. If you are willing to put in the time and energy, and we only ask 10 to 15 minutes each and every day, but that's the kicker, each and every day. If I can do it in my schedule, even when I'm traveling, to bring this to you, you can do it. I'm your biggest fan. Let's jump into these charts. Everything up for the day. Just keep on keeping on. This market just goes. Now the latest 2-day candle finished drawing on Wednesday, well above that weekly trend line. Look at the half day, well above, up in the morning, a little further up in the afternoon. Don't have a great sized candle, nor do we see the volume knocking it out, and we don't really expect it last week of the year. All the big money's on vacation. But again, doesn't take a lot of, when there's not a lot of volume, doesn't take a lot to boot that market up, and up 18.18% for the day. Now, going in the right direction. What about the NASDAQ 100? It's up 0.15%. Again, moving right up. On the 2-day chart, we see it's above that weekly trend line. Half day, nice above it. And again, things just continuing to tick up, up, up. Wasn't this turnaround beautiful? Now, the turnaround we saw here, as we've talked about many times, back on that week beginning the 23rd of October, we saw higher than average volume where it was dipping down, hitting that interim low. That next week followed by a green spinning top. If you got in that week, great. A little bit above average volume, and then things just continued to move. You could have gotten in the next week at about the same spot, and things have gone up so nicely. We look for that volume either peaking or troughing, and of course it did, and then turning around. When we get to gold, you'll see something a little different. Now we look at where where things are on 20-year bonds. 1.77%, only to be outdone by Bitcoin. But again, bonds just a jamming up. We see things, we can see where we had a trend line, spiked a little above it last week, and further above it this week. If we move that trend line up, we can catch 3 candles and that move. You can see where the 2-day is above the weekly trend line. You can see in the morning, up in the morning, further up in the afternoon. Quite beautiful. Again, bonds peaking on that up move with all that volume. And again, isn't this a similar kind of thing that we see when we have good up moves? We see volume peaking on the trough there where it hits the bottom, and then turning around with a green spinning top and taking off. That is the kind of volume and candles that we like to see. Is it always right? No, it's not always right. That's why we set our loss limits. We use, again, our 2-day chart to set our loss limit. We use the ATR, average true range, and that is where we set on our jumping in point. And what do? If we hit that loss limit, we pull. If we hit the profit, same thing as the loss limit in the opposite direction, then we sell half that position. And what do? We let our profits ride. And does it work every time? Doesn't work every time, but in the long run, if you will just practice this to prove it to yourself, you will see over and over how well it does for you. But don't take my word. I don't promise anything except to give you the tools to prove it to yourself. We're not a stock calling service. We're an education firm. And again, These last moves on the S&P, on the NASDAQ 100, and on 20-year bonds have been beautiful. Let's go to gold. Gold up just a little less than 0.5% for the day, and look at where it's peaking. We see where gold peaked before and then blew off that steam and where it's touched up last. But let's look at what the high was on the week beginning the 27th of November. It was 192.40. What did it hit today? 193.18. So again, looks like it's trying to push through, has on that half day that prior purple top. So again, sealing. So now here's my only concern, and this is what I called your attention to, that as we look at where gold, again, it popped up quite nicely, then rolled over, had higher volume, had a little bit above average volume that week beginning the 11th of December with that red spinning top. Then it turned around. Why didn't we trust it? Because we didn't have any volume to back it up. Same this week. And again, not trusting it, not into this up move on gold because I don't feel good about it because I don't have volume supporting it. So again, if you jumped into it, I hope you had a good reason. Just because it's moving up doesn't mean it can sustain that, particularly in a week like this. Now, it may continue to go up. I can be wrong, but you know what? I'd rather be right more often than I am wrong. And I'd rather not jump in a risky trade and miss it and then find the good trades that I can count on. And of course, what have we seen that with? The S&P, the NASDAQ 100, and 20-year bonds. Not trusting this gold move. Am I wrong? I may very well be, but you know what? I'm happy to be wrong and not lose the money than to take a risk that is not backed up by what I know and get hammered by it. So that is where we are with gold, moving up. Now, let's see how long it sustains it. And lastly, we will look at Bitcoin up 2.42%. And again, Bitcoin, we saw that latest high of $41.05. Where are we today? $40.06. Hit that high on the week beginning the 4th of December, and we've not hit it again. We're sliding sideways. We've seen that happen in the past with Bitcoin, and then it rolls over and goes down. But we saw it before right here, didn't we? Although, if you look at where things were, 36.74 that week, 36.54, 36.77, so a little higher, 37.05. So again, we watched it. It did slide sideways, but it meandered up, and then it popped up again big time on the week beginning the 4th of December. So again, not hitting that high yet. The prior pattern we saw over the course of this last year is Bitcoin, tending to roll over, going down. So we'll wait, watch, and see. Not saying that we pulled this trade yet, but we are watching it with trepidation. That is where we are, folks. Sorry I'm getting out a little late today, but I'm bound and determined to get it to you. I just couldn't do it any earlier because I didn't have a signal and I was in the middle of nowhere. God bless, my friends. All the best from the whole team at Charting Wealth World Headquarters.